everybody. This is Apostle Babe Linda James, your favorite apostate. And I have Matthew here with us tonight. And I had a few things that I put aside that I might bring up. But earlier tonight, I was listening to somebody talk about blood and blood transfusions. So I wanted to get into that a little bit. But also, there's this thing going on within society at large. Since Trump has taken the United States into what he has claimed is a war, um, what's also going on is there's this rumor, okay, that high ranking officers are telling people that what this is, this war that's happening, is going to bring about Armageddon. Okay? Now, the belief system of Christian nationalists, the mega group that's ultra right, like the Christian nationalism, that has a few different things that make up a recipe, like Opus Dei and Seven Mountain Mandate, evangelical, forms of Catholicism. So there's this group of people that believe that what they are going to do is bring about Armageddon. And what Armageddon is going to do is bring about Jesus. Okay? And I've told you guys before that when a group or someone does things with the intentions of bringing Jesus back, that's called a doomsday cult. Okay? So I'm not saying that all these different groups combined are a doomsday cult. What I am saying is that's doomsday behavior. And I'm saying it's a rumor. So it's almost plausible, but it's only a rumor. And I don't think the foundation in it is I don't think it's true. Like, I don't think that's what's really happening. I do not believe that these high-ranking officers are talking to their people that are in the service and telling them this story, that this war that Trump has gotten us into is going to bring about Armageddon. I believe that was mentioned, but it hasn't been confirmed. Okay, so not enough accuracy is behind this. Okay, so I'm bringing it to you as a rumor because I don't even believe this is what's happening. But at the same time, if it was happening, this is the characteristics of what the Christian nationalism is about. That's the end game. They need to do certain things like turn the United States into a theocracy, stuff like this, to bring back Jesus's return, as opposed to, like, say, mainstream Christianity, where Jesus ends up returning on his own timing, right? And then however he does it, whether it's a rapture or hangs out with us here on earth, brings about a paradise, or we go in heaven, however that's going to look. I don't really have a mindset of how that's going to look, or if that's even going to happen. But I do know the belief system of the mainstream Christianity and the belief system of Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism, everything that they're doing right now, and the fervor that is behind them, is because this is a righteous fervor. They are bringing about the second coming of Jesus. So keep that in mind as you're hearing these rumors, and they are only rumors. They're not confirmed, okay? And yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. I don't know if any of you have heard this. Maybe some of you have. If it's giving you fear, or it's not been confirmed. This is only rumor. What has been happening is the United States has gone into war. Trump is taking us into war. He's called it a war, yet he hasn't gone through Congress, which is the step that he is supposed to take in order to go to war. But he has announced that we are at war. So Are we at war? It looks like it. Did he go through the right steps? No, he didn't. But that's how our President Trump rolls, and that's his style. And what he has claimed is that he's going to go by his own moral standards, rather than taking the proper channels that has been set up through our government. So he also has things set up to where things that he does that are illegal, as the president, he won't be held accountable. But let me just say this. Those that he gives instructions to, which I like to call flying monkeys, okay? This is where a narcissist will give somebody a job to do for them. And these are like flying monkeys. So basically, a narcissist will get other people to do their dirty work, okay? Example, the governing body sets up the circuit overseer and the elders to do to keep the congregations in line. And however they do it, they're doing it as through the instructions of the governing body. So these are commands or instructions that come down from the top and get sent to the ordinary rank and file Jehovah's Witness. And so Kristi Noem also appears to have gotten fired, but it's not like she got fired from the government. She's been given another position. And it's not because of the murders of ICE that she was taken down from her position. It's not because of, the children that have been taken into these, what I believe are concentration camps. It's not because many of the atrocities that have happened through her leadership. It's not because of the 2 planes she wants working on a 3rd plane. It's not because of these things that would affect someone's conscience to do something. No, it's because when she was at court earlier this week, she claimed that the amount of money she's been spending was something that Trump agreed with. And because in court, everybody there, the right and the left, thought that the amount of money she was spending was absolutely ridiculously high. This man who's, known as he makes great deals, she claimed that he had seen this and agreed with this. I believe that's why she was given another position. So she's lost her position as in charge of ICE and all of that. So we're going to have somebody else replacing her. And we'll see how that goes. But so unfortunately, she was giving a speech to the public. And at that moment that she was giving a speech, she was fired through one of Trump's texts, which is how he does things, right? You find out through a text, usually. And it affected her really bad. And that's truly sad. As much as I do not care for this puppy-killing woman, I just thought that was a sad thing that happened to her as she's facing the public, and at the same time she's getting fired. It's like, the irony, But a senator from California went to see her when she was speaking to Los Angeles, when ICE first showed up here in Los Angeles, and he was the congressman for California. Wanted to ask her a question, and he was literally pushed out of the room by like 3 or 4 guys, taken into the hallway, thrown to the ground, and handcuffed. And what did she say later? She wished he would have identified himself, which he did. Okay? My thing is if you're going to show up in a certain city, it would be good if you know who the somebodies are. That's my opinion. She didn't recognize him because she didn't know who the hell he was. Okay, he claimed he was a senator. Matter of fact, he had an office in that building and was taken in to that room by FBI, who didn't say shit as he's been dragged out of the room. Okay, another person this week, I don't really have a good or bad feeling about this certain person that's a serviceman of some sort, stood up and claimed he was not going to go to war for Israel. And so it's kind of this protest thing, but it interrupted something that was going on formally. So he, of course, got dragged out of the room. And he's holding on to a whole bunch of things. And unfortunately, as these 3 or 4 guys are trying to drag him away, his hand gets caught between 2 doors that you would be able to close, but they kind of come together. You'd pull them shut. His hands were in there as he's holding on, and these other people are dragging him. Well, it ended up breaking his hand. You could hear it crack, and then he yells, "It's your so-and-so's broke my hand." So that was pretty sad too. So anyways, Minnesota looks like there's nothing happening there right now. But from what I understand, there is stuff happening there, but it's not being publicized. So yeah, there's that. So President Trump has not told us, nor Congress, why we have chosen to go to war. He doesn't have an end game. When asked by journalists or people, what's the plan? Because he was saying that we're probably going to put troops on the ground. What for? I don't know, but okay. And so he was asked, because so far we've lost at least 100 people that are American citizens through death. Not to mention what we did to them, okay? Which was really sad. War is war, and it's hard to make war look good, right? So when asked, I don't even remember what the question was now that I'm thinking of it, but basically his answer was, yeah, I guess, people are going to die. And he was just so cavalier about it that it just rippled across. And people don't know what's going on. People don't know the purpose we're there, what the end game is. So a lot of us is kind of just like, what the hell is going on? What are we doing and why? I know for myself, I need to know what I'm doing and why. And when we do things, when the government does things, we're supposed to say it as though we too are doing it. We as Americans are doing it. I don't approve of it. I don't get it. But I don't think he's going to stop with only America. I believe most of the things he's doing is a global intention. So keep an eye on that. If you notice some of that, I could be way off, but I'm only giving my opinion. But I haven't been that caught up in the in the news this week, which is kind of cool. So I'm suggesting that you give yourself some breaks from the news if it does tend to bother you. Most people don't spend much time listening to the news or doing any kind of research. Heather Cock Richardson is someone I do enjoy listening to. She's a historian, and she comes on her channel, Heather Cock Richardson, about twice a week, and then hangs out with another historian on Saturday mornings. And so if you get a chance to hear her kind of sum up what's been happening within the government of the United States, it kind of can help you not have to get so deep into it. She's very accurate, and she's very, for the most part, just the facts until until the east wing of the White House was crumbled to the ground. Then she kind of just went off on her own opinions, like she couldn't even believe this happened. So every so often she'll kind of like want to go off and share her opinion, but she'll stop herself and she'll literally say it. I'll stop now. So that's kind of fun to watch. But give her a shot to listen to what she has to say, and if it rings true to you, great. And if you don't care for her or her style, that's cool too. But yeah, so there's some things that have been going on this week. As far as blood transfusions and Jehovah's Witnesses, this is something that I grew up with, knowing that we had a blood card, okay? And the blood card, I didn't know this as a child, but I've learned it as an adult, is when we sign this blood card, it says that it's against our conscience to take a blood transfusion. And when I've looked into like WebMD and all these different kinds of medical places to do research and stuff, all of them have many different things that they've done to go out of their way to honor the patients, adults, on not having to give them a blood transfusion, okay? But it ends up being very hard on the staff. It ends up being very hard on the nurses. There's been some stories where the nurse will just beg them to take a blood transfusion because in their minds, they are to do no harm. So letting a patient die when they have the solution, or they have a solution that could possibly keep them alive, and maybe it wouldn't work, it's hard on their psyche. It's hard for them. When children are involved, then the CPS will get involved. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't know CPS would get involved. I knew I had a blood card, and I knew that I would die if I needed a blood transfusion. If we got in a car accident, I was gonna die. And I knew my mother would let me die, and I knew she would do it to be faithful to Jehovah. Yet nothing ever given to me as an explanation ever made any sense to back it up. But the older I got, it's talked about as though it's a symbol of life. The blood represents life, okay? It's not necessarily life, it represents life. So let's say a couple has a wedding picture. It's like that wedding picture resembles the day they got married, but it is not their marriage, okay? If someone's wearing a wedding ring, that represents the commitment that this couple has together and the vows that they took on the day they got married, but it is not their marriage. So it's kind of misplaced. There used to be stories within the organization regarding blood transfusions and I don't know why I can't come up with it, organ transplants. These articles would come out and state that there was a certain circumstance that somebody took blood or they took the organ of another person. And of course, this other person was a very bad person that's done very bad things. And that person that took the blood or took this organ then had a change in their behavior, and they actually became like this very bad person. So this was something that was part of the indoctrination to scare you not to take the blood or not to take an organ, not to do an organ transplant. There was a time within the organization that organ transplants were fine. And then there was a time they were not fine. And then it went back to fine. How many times this happened? I don't know. I don't recall at this moment. But also during the organization's history, way back, there was an article talking about a doctor himself performing a blood transfusion on a patient, literally taking whatever he needed to take, um, medical instruments, and from his own blood, from his own body, gave a patient his own blood, which helped to save this patient's life. And this article was spoken of like what a great idea that was, and how self-giving and everything he was. So there was a time when it wasn't a bad idea. The way that they've made it, because I can remember people being disfellowshipped when I was a kid for receiving a blood transfusion. The way it is now is that no longer happens. One doesn't get removed or disfellowshipped if they receive a blood transfusion as an adult. That the act in of itself has disassociated the person that received it. So that kind of disqualifies you from being a Jehovah's Witness. So they no longer do any actions to reprimand you or punish you. It's an understanding that that behavior that one does, if they are comfortable taking blood transfusion, will disassociate them. Okay? I want you to know, there's a movie called Apostasy. It's a really good movie. You can watch it on Amazon Prime. It's called Apostasy. At the beginning of this movie, so it's about a mother and two daughters, and then people from the Kingdom Hall and such. One of the daughters was being talked to by like a social worker at the hospital, letting her know that if she changes her mind, all she has to do is say something, and they will set it up in such a way that her family nor the liaison committee will know that she's receiving a blood transfusion. So even though you do have a card that sets up the organization to take the position of power of attorney for that situation, not all of these other medical decisions that you make, but only for the case of blood transfusions, you can verbally change your mind and say it out loud, and that makes that blood card null and void. Okay? You can do that. Even if you've signed it, and you can think of it as a commitment, but legally you can open your mouth and say, I need to talk to a nurse or the doctor and let them know, I really believe I want to get this blood transfusion, but I can't have my family nor the liaison committee know. They have things set up in such a way that they will not know. Okay, so if you do change your mind, that is something you can do. And it is something that is a conscience decision. And it's not something you have to answer to anybody else about. From what I understand, women who are getting ready to give birth are often visited by the elders and made sure that they have everything in order to be able to not take a blood transfusion when giving, after giving birth. That is a common time for a woman to lose too much blood. And if they don't get a blood transfusion, they can die. Okay? So even though giving birth is a bloody affair, and there's an afterbirth and all this stuff, because it's so, it's associated with the afterbirth and stuff like that, sometimes you can't tell if someone is bleeding out from an inner wound, or if it's just, this is what happens during childbirth. It gets bloody. Okay, so when we have our periods, when we women have our periods every month, and then we disperse of that gets gathered in our womb, we'll have that time of the month, right? So when one is pregnant, 9 months of these periods, has gathered up to make this this atmosphere for the fetus to grow in. So there's more blood than when you were on your period. And then you have this Nazi nurse come in. I've had 3 kids with no pain relief. And I'll tell you what, after giving birth, a nurse will come in and do what is called wringing out your uterus. And basically they kind of, the way you knead when you're making bread, that's what they're going to do to your lower tummy. And that encourages more blood to be released. Because again, like I said, we have 9 months of a period happening here. And it doesn't all leave the body during the birthing time. So yeah. If you do decide it's okay with your conscience, this is a decision you can make. I do suggest you educate yourself on why you're okay with it. There's been stories about how people that are homeless and all this stuff, drug addicts and this, that, and the other, give blood. I know of people that if they've gotten a tattoo within so much time, they're ineligible to give blood. So I know they have some standards. I don't know what they all are, but I know there's also a filtering process that also happens. Full blood transfusions are not really full blood. There's kind of a process that they go through of filtering, okay, and testing. So there was a time when hepatitis was easily transferred through blood transfusions, and that turned out to be very bad. But today, the situation is much better. So give yourself some time, and again, if your conscience is now okay with it, and if it's not okay with it, what I'm talking about is not a push for you to change your mind. It's just to give information. If it's still against your conscience, by all means, go with your conscience, okay? But if it's okay with your conscience, I also suggest that you let your doctor know that you've changed your mind on this, because your doctors will have a copy of your blood card. Okay, so you'll want to get that out of your records, because if there is some unfortunate accident, like a car accident or whatever, and your records show that you don't take a blood transfusion when you have now decided that you are okay with it, you would want that to be changed. And I suggest you go back to all of the doctors that you have had in history to make sure that it's all gone. Talk to whoever you need to talk to make sure that it is all taken off of your records, because you now have a different mindset. So does anybody have any questions about blood transfusions?
I tell you what, that's been a revelation for me, Linda James.
What's that?
Well, I mean, the JW brought in that metaphysical stuff, right? But it was to scare people into supporting the belief when it came to actual transfusion or a organ transplant, hey?
Yes. Okay, yeah, so we take on the personality of that person and behave that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to find out, is there any kind of credible scientific evidence that a person actually acquires the personality or the memories or the characteristic traits of a blood or organ donor? I believe that. I believed it because that's,
okay.
Well, let me be clear. I believed it when I was taught that. If I was surrounded by this organization dispensing this information as the truth, that's in my brain.
Right.
Now, I wanted to find out, is there credible medical evidence for this? Is there a metaphysical aspect in modern medicine or even in neuroscience that says that personality or memory arises from a brain structure or from a neural network or from another dimension somewhere? Does the Parapsychological Society recognize this? And guess what?
What?
As far as we can see in medical science, it's been debunked.
Oh, it has. Okay, good. I mean, I
Yeah.
was sitting here thinking, I don't think that happens, but I haven't went and researched it yet. That's why I'm going, oh, good, because I just haven't researched. I thought it was
going, well, can we clutch onto something here? Is there something we've missed, and maybe we've narrowed our thinking or something? No, wait a second. No, this is coming from an organization that is pushing its own narrative.
Yes.
So,
welcome everybody, and I'm so glad to see you, Purple. I was ready to have to get in touch with you and say, dude, are you okay? Because I guess I haven't seen you in a while, so I'm really glad
Purple,
to see you.
very, very happy to have you back.
And you brought Grey Wolf too. Good to see you, Grey Wolf. Apostasy 2017 director. Yes, that's right. Okay, there's a certain silence that happens with this understanding and frustration within a family, and I often brought it. I just recall growing up with this anxiety in the silence. And one thing about this movie is I picked up on it. They managed to give it the movie did this, and I thought that was amazing. It was amazing. But if you ever have a friend or whatever and they're like, so what was it like being a Jehovah's Witness? You can kind of share a few things, and of course they'll look at you and be like, it's unfathomable that, because they know their human rights and the stuff we've been involved in, and we were so isolated that most of us didn't know our human rights, nor did we know how to set boundaries. Letting them watch that movie, or both of you watching the movie, could be helpful. Yeah. Elaine Brain Drain says, is that the new policy in Shepherd's Manual? I'm not sure.
You know what? I've been trying to avoid that manual. It's been a couple of times I've been put on the spot as to, are you up to date with the latest SLF book? And it's the same feeling I get when I hear some hypocrite on a platform mouthing off, and I know that they are involved in some really dubious activity, and I get the same feeling when so it's not a book I actually reach for.
Right.
I realize it gives us an insight and that there's certain changes and things like this, but I look at it and I go, it's more about protecting against liability. That's what it's for, and I can't handle it because I applied myself to using my brain to learn all of this information and to be like a Jesuit priest almost, trying to recite parrot fashion the book of Acts, because I thought that would be a great party trick. And after my injury, I find that my mental bandwidth just can't handle it. I'm going like this, why must I apply myself to this? And it's only if I'm really pushed into it will I go to the contents page or the index or something and have a look at it. But I've got no desire to start applying myself to learn this new information unless there's a mission and somebody really needs to know what's in the book.
Right.
So, sorry, folks, but
Yeah. So I'm not sure Elaine Brain Drain, what the question you're asking is what that's regarding. Let me see here. New policy in Shepherd.
Now that I've said that, if Elaine needs it, I'll work on it. Let me put it that way.
See, everything I've talked about, I didn't touch on the Shepherd of God book, and I don't know if she's talking to me or maybe somebody else in the chat.
And I don't want to embarrass anybody either.
J. Mars says the Organization on Organs is funny. That is so true. That is so true. It's good to see you guys here. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, the gang, if I can say it's the gang, I don't know if that's appropriate in the United States, but it's really great to see the gang together, you know. And I think I saw that some were struggling to download the magazines from jw.org, right?
Okay.
I did go on there and I managed to download the May 2026. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if certain places are struggling. I also found that California has got some different censorship that's in place. I heard
regarding
about that.
JW.org? Or just
information control. I saw that this, is it Apple devices or something like that, is forcing people into some kind of agreement which is more towards information control, and I hear there's some chatter about it, but I can't be an authority because I haven't studied it enough. I've just seen, maybe YouTube videos about it.
Okay.
And I think I explored with you, Linda James, there was a censorship in some of our discussion between what was being played on YouTube and what was being transcribed, and I picked up a variance.
Yes.
I thought this is very interesting. It's happening on the channel, and it was interesting what words were apparently being censored.
I found that very intriguing, and thank you for pointing it out to me. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks for you.
And we'll just have to keep an eye out. We'll just have to keep an eye out to see if that continues.
Yeah, can I say the word? I mean, it's not on any YouTube no list, but just for the audience, the word liability, LIABILITY, seemed to be censored on Linda's channel, and it's like a puzzle because even the context didn't seem to be triggering or something like this, but boom, there it was. It had filtered it out.
That's right.
And it had registered it on the system. It had registered on the transcript, but it had filtered or bleeped it out when, mentioning the word. So,
right. And it didn't happen with the sound of a bleep, but it just went quiet. Like I heard the beginning of the word that you were saying, and then I could see your lips moving saying the word, but I couldn't hear you finish saying the word. So audience, if you want to find this, it's from my last video. Today is February 7th, 2026. So it's from last weekend, and you'll in the comments section, not during chat, but in the comments section, you'll see that Matthew brings it out to me, and I believe you timestamped it. Yes, and
I did timestamp it just as an audit.
Yeah, so you'll be able to see what he's talking about right now, and he mentions that it's in the transcript. Now, Matthew brings up how he transcripts every week for me, and I've come to just love it, and he'll just do it, and I think it's awesome. But YouTube as well does a transcript, and that's what I went into to look at when he was saying it's in the transcript. I went to the YouTube transcript, so the word liability was there, but yet for some reason we couldn't hear him finish saying the word. And we
Yeah.
don't know if it was just a fluke or if that was an intentional thing. So yeah.
We are the kind of people that are on high alert to these things.
Right? No kidding. Thank you for saying this. My God. And I remember being a kid, like a little kid, 3 or 4 years old, thinking to myself, as I'm sitting in the back seat of my parents' car, now if this car gets moving, I'm going to jump over the back seat and put my hand on the brakes. Yeah. I anticipated disaster my whole childhood. I was always anticipating it. And I don't think that was normal. I think that had to do with, the fear indoctrination that was given to me as a small child. Starting in Paradise Lost, Paradise Gained, which is like an orange book, or else it's Pepto-Bismol pink. And I remember reading in this book as an adult, and it talks about it's probably going to take about 7 years for us, those of us Jehovah's Witnesses, that make it through Armageddon. This is Watchtower theology, Watchtower teaching.
Wow.
Okay. It's probably going to take us about 7 years to clean up all the bodies, but it's not going to be that bad. The birds are going to eat out the eyes, and the wild animals will probably eat the flesh off of these people. So won't do that bad of a job. Yet we are all going to be vegetarians for some reason. So I always wondered, well, why are the animals
in the library here, Linda James?
You what?
I've got a copy nearby.
Okay. Yeah. So,
but
I distinctively read it as an adult, and you know what? My mother had a very challenging childhood, and I get why she was attracted to this group of people, this organization, this group. It showed many pictures of families, mothers and fathers and children, the wholesome families, of families getting along. This structure of the man being the head of the house and the woman submitting, and everything just works together, and it's God's plan. So I can see why this was attractive to her. So I don't have this mindset of, damn her for joining. I get why she joined. It was very alluring. It was very attractive. It looked like the desire of her heart, So of course she joined it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go back to my childhood
Oof.
for nothing. I would never, like some people go, you'll hear people talk, oh, I can remember my childhood and I would love to go back to then. No, fuck that. I would never want, you can't pay me enough to go back to my childhood. Between my mother and this organization, it was hell. I had no peace, and it was constant high anxiety, constant, like what you were talking about, like basically always on tactical alert, So yeah, I've heard people talk about having nice childhoods within this organization, and I think that's great.
I seem to remember the little dinosaurs on that book as you opened the cover, right? They had little dinosaurs, because there was all of those beliefs about the dinosaurs would come back in paradise.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And so
I didn't know that part.
So
I just thought
there was that whole genetic restoration idea that was then they put the little dinosaurs in, and yeah. What was the other thing?
That the flood wiped out the dinosaurs, but these dinosaurs are too big to go on the ark, so
Yeah, it just created this magical.
But I didn't know that the idea of the new system would include dinosaurs. Is that what you're saying? That was thought. It's kind of a
Yeah,
thought process.
well,
Okay.
yeah, I'm not quite ready to go into it, but there is a deep dive with it. Yeah, and it's all to do with genetics and restoration, and yeah, no, it's a big deep dive. I'm
Okay.
holding back on it.
So we're told as Jehovah's Witnesses that God's going to create a new earth, a new heavens and a new earth. But what we find out is we are going to create this new earth. We are going to pick up all the dead bodies and all the mess that was made when Jesus showed up and the earth opened up and buildings fell down. We are going to be picking all that up, and we are going to be building all these houses and stuff. And there's been a few changes with that. Go ahead.
No, sorry, Linda Jones. There was a time that paradise was quite magical. There was a time, I remember, where Jehovah God would wave his magic hand, and it would clear up. And that's where you were talking about the 7 years story. Now, I remember that. And then it changed, and it was going, yes, you're going to be cleaning up, and yes, you are going to be used by God for this restaurant. It's going to, wait a second, this is getting very messy now.
Right?
And you...
I know, right? I know. It's like, wait a minute, this is turning out to be a dirty trick. Another thing that happened, and I think it was within the last 5 years, Brother Let made this comment about if a homosexual was resurrected, he might think that, that was okay because the church was okay with it or something. But no, he's going to have about 100 years to lift his standards up to Jehovah's standards and turn things around. Okay, this really messed with those that are Jehovah's Witnesses that know that they are gay. Okay, and I'll tell you why. They've looked forward to the new system of things when they would become more perfect and all of our inequities will be fixed by Jehovah. But Brother Let said we had to fix it. And it was put on the person, right? And only 100 years. When we were supposed to have 1,000 years to no longer be like disabled, or if we were older, we're going to get younger. But no, the gays only have 100 years to get their shit in order. Okay, so that's kind of a thing. And another thing that was talked about earlier today, I pick up on stuff because I listened to 6 Screams of the Watchtower earlier. Somebody brought up Brother Let talking about babies.
Oh, yeah, it was Anne-Marie.
God. Okay. This was unfortunately associated with somebody within, I would say, a week or two.
Stefan mentioned it with Anne-Marie.
Yeah. So there was somebody, I'm sorry, I don't remember the country she was in. Unfortunately, stabbed her baby to death, and this was a Jehovah's Witness woman. I personally, and there was rumors, it was probably because what Brother Let said, maybe, but I tend to think that the poor woman was probably suffering from postpartum depression, because those that have postpartum depression, they will get suicidal. They will have visions of wanting to throw their babies up against the wall. They will hear voices, okay? They will be not their normal self when they are dealing with postpartum depression. Then there was somebody else I was talking to who's now getting ready to have her second baby. And I gave her one of those, pay attention to how you're feeling after you give birth, in case postpartum depression hits you, And she's like, I dealt with that for my last pregnancy, but it didn't kick in until she stopped nursing. I'd never heard of this. She got postpartum depression after she stopped nursing. So basically, it's a hormonal change, and it could go bad. So there's that. But for him to say that babies are the enemies of God. I also heard, and these are, you know, I know that the story of that woman that stabbed her baby to death was a very tragic one, and I believe that story to be true. But I also heard, and this is a rumor, that Hispanic congregations, when they heard that, they got up and walked out.
Ooh.
Yes. Okay. And I've also heard from Jesse and Gilbert, like, they're not as obedient as far as shunning. The Hispanic culture is family first, and they always, always, always have the utmost respect for the mothers. Okay?
Okay.
So to hear that rumor sounds just like what the culture I grew up around would do. Did it happen? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But the idea behind what Brother Letts said is supposed to really come down to, you're not a child of God or protected by God until you become a baptized member of this organization. That's when you've gotten right with God. And until then, you're not protected. Well, since inconsistencies stand out to me like neon signs, that goes against the belief system that we've been taught, that we are actually covered by the parents until we become of age, that we're supposed to be responsible for our own spiritual walk. So there's that. Yeah. Happy Thought says, I regret raising my sons in a cult. One alives himself. Oh my God. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry to hear that. This, unfortunately, is an all too common occurrence. And I don't know who did these studies, but Jerry Bergman used to be somebody that put out studies. He put out one in 1975. But since then, it has also confirmed what Bergman confirmed, and that is that those that leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, or those that are Jehovah's Witnesses, are much more inclined to be suicidal, more so than people within society at large. And I don't recall the amount, like 4 times this amount or 17. I don't recall that amount, but it's a likelihood thing. And it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. And so, you know, let me just say this, Happy Thoughts. You did what you knew to do at the time with the information you had at the time. And you were deceived. Okay? Anybody can be deceived. Anybody. So I see you as a sharp cookie. I see you as pretty, wise in life. And even wise people, even smart people, even those that are well cultured, can be deceived. Matter of fact, I think it was you. Yeah, I think it was you that asked me if I had seen Kim's latest video. Okay, so again, was it you? I believe so. Again, this is March 7th, and this video is about 14 days old, I think, Kim's video. So it's within 2 weeks of whenever, in the future, if somebody's listening to this, you'll be able to find it there. Or maybe I'll put it in the description box. Unfortunately, Kim, who's a sharp cookie as well, Mike and Kim, did a video where she revealed to us that Alanis had lied to her about a few things, and including his daughter. That his daughter, which was, I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of the daughter. It's going to come to me. So I get that when we get involved in this community, or we will use a different name. I use a different name. I use a pseudonym. And at first, before I started doing this, I was really like, am I going to be lying to the world? Am I just going to be a fake or something? It affected my conscience very much, and I really pondered over whether I was going to use my real name or a pseudonym. And I came to the conclusion that, first off, I don't want to be in my active Jehovah's Witness family's face with it. And authors use different names as well. And I came to a place of being okay with it. So, yeah. Petra, thank you. Petra. Mm-hmm. Was it you, Happy Thoughts, that asked me if I had seen Kim's video? I think it was you. So, she was on her video going, I feel very stupid, like I fell for this. Okay. She was deceived. Okay. People, nobody gets in line to join a cult and intends to join a cult. Nobody does. Nobody gets in line to get an abusive partner. We don't order that. We don't intend to have those things. We can be deceived, or we can have, lack of better judgment, but it's not because we're stupid. These kind of things happen. Sheila. Okay. I'm reading your thing. The indoctrination is formed to make you distrust or destruct. That's what Elaine Brain Drain said. Okay. And John says, Rick Farron mentioned on JW World News that Operation Spotlight, Jimmy's letter drive, reached Trump. Yes, I missed it, and then I went back to listen to it. I think that's pretty darn cool. So Operation Spotlight was a thing where many of us ex-Jehovah's Witnesses were encouraged to write these letters, much like when the organization has a campaign and they suggest that we write certain letters to certain people that are high up in authority positions in other countries and stuff. Like, they had us write letters to Russia and stuff. And back when I was a kid, we wrote to Malawi, the leadership in Malawi. So the one that Jimmy Bell was promoting, and it was put together by Sherry, which is I think it's GPC. I don't know I'm sorry, I don't know. She was part of the Australian Royal Commission. They took on 2 cases, and she was one of them. Okay. So she later became a lawyer. And so there's that. So I'm trying to remember. So basically, there was a letter that was sent to Trump regarding this organization and the cover-up of pedophilia. So, okay, it got to Trump is what Jimmy said. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And Gray Wolf says, postpartum depression after stopping breastfeeding is called post-weaning depression. And yes, it's the result of hormonal changes. Well, thank you. Thank you. Dallas says, I hate the word new system. It messes with my mind at times. I know, right? Wild Wall. Hello, buddy. How you doing? By the way, Wild Wall is the reason this show, every show I have, that's called a cyber meetup, is because of our Wild Wall. He came up with the term cyber, either meetup or show or something. I adopted it from him, from Wild Wall. Okay, let me go back up to Wild Well because I lost it. Okay, imagine King David and King Solomon being resurrected and then being told they couldn't have like 500 wives and concubines anymore. I know that might be a drag. But you know what the thing is that's too funny. The deal was, you know, a king, if he could support them all, and, you know, it was this whole thing about getting more kids out there, and it's a survival thing. So if you have more wives and you have more concubines, you're getting more children out there. Unfortunately, polygamy amongst an offshoot of Mormonism, which is fundamental polygamy, fundamental LDS. Unfortunately, what I've seen, like in documentaries and stuff, is that the women will usually go on welfare, and there'll be one man that has like, I don't know how many wives, 5 to 12 or something, and they all have their own like trailer. Okay, they all have their own separate living places, and I think of Rutherford when I hear this, because Rutherford supposedly had like places outside of the mansion that was where his women would stay. So, anyways, not confirmed, just what I heard. Okay, so unfortunately, these women go on welfare, but the belief system of the core belief system of Mormonism is that there is pre-existent souls in the spiritual world or heaven that are needing to be birthed onto this world. And from there, one man can eventually have their own planet. And this is the beginning of who will be on this planet. Okay? Women will not have an afterlife if they don't have a husband in the celestial world. So, yeah. Hormones ruined my life as a woman. Fact. I'm sorry to laugh at this, but you know what? They kind of suck. Yeah. That was from Elaine Brain Drain. So, Dallas, my mom was sucked into the cult in the 1960s during her first marriage. My dad was sucked into the cult in 1974 during his marriage. They wanted to do right in life. That is so true. They really did. I so get that, you know. That's why you'll hear me say, I really don't have a beef with the people that are deceived and recruited. I don't. My beef is not with them. It's with the leadership that does the deceiving, that does the manipulation, that convinces people to rely on them in their decision-making skills, and they make decisions that are not in their best interests.
Well, they know what they're doing. And I had to go through that process, Linda James. I had to go through the process of sending the letters, sending the information, receipting it, saying to my pals, are you standing with the governing body right now? Are you standing right there? I had to go through the process to know that, yes, they have taken in the information, they're cognizant of it, and you know what they're doing? They're pulling a fast one. And I think the other thing that had to happen was that announcement of 98% of the branch taking a certain medicine. That we know that no sister in any branch or in any congregation would have donated the unborn child, which is in the study program, is a disrespect for life in an embryonic stage. And David and his 3 mighty men, and he's saying, oh, I want the water from the cistern of Jerusalem. And they fight and they bring this water to David, and David pours it on the ground and says, this is blood guilt. This is blood guilt. There's no blood in the water. It's just water from the cistern. But it was the lives that were put into danger. And we were always having this scripture drummed into us. That's why you need your safety belt on when you drive your car, and you need to check your brakes, and you need to make sure that there's no electrical outlet that could harm somebody. It was that extent that a scriptural principle like that was applied. And now suddenly there's this administrative gesture during this crisis that now suddenly we can justify the use of certain medicines. But okay, fine. So there's a rule now that's in place. But what actually happened was we had earnest congregants asking about it pre-2019, not 2019. It was happening, not 2020, not 2021, way in advance, pre-2019. I know I phoned the branch because my mate was now appointed one of the overseers that I had gone through thick and thin over and had near-death experiences with. And I phoned him up and I said, now's the time. Our friend, the doctor, who was serving in the branch, who had a car accident outside the branch, said, she was warning us about this prior to this happening. And I said, now, isn't it great that you've been put into this position of oversight? Let's get the answer. Because I said, there's congregants who are asking about these cell lines, and it's a legitimate question. You know what he says to me?
What?
Matt, let's wait upon oversight. They have our best interests at heart.
Oh.
I said, where have you been? Where have you been these years in all of these Bible studies? I said, I haven't changed. I said, been preparing. I said, oh, gee. I said, they told you to destroy files, didn't they? I said, they told you to destroy files. That was your assignment, and that's why you were made the overseer. And he shuts up. He can't say anything because it was absolutely on the money. And I said,
yeah.
I said, did you ask? I said, did you ask why the previous overseer was removed?
Good question.
Because you got down on your knees going, hallelujah, thank you, Jehovah, and I'm so humbled. I'm so humbled by this experience. I said, this is the process that you've gone through, because they worked you on all of the crappy jobs, and now you're in tears because suddenly they've taken notice of you. I said, but we've discussed this whole mind job. You are prepared for this thing. And it turned out, yes, he was asked to destroy files. He was asked to destroy Linda James.
Yeah. And this happens within other groups too, such as governments. And I'm not just talking the United States. To change history and to not let certain things remain. It's an attempt to rewrite. Yeah.
Dan and Angela are with us, Linda James. It's really good to have them. Yeah.
I freaking adore them. Okay. Like they have different belief system than mine, quite a bit different. And mine is quite a bit different than theirs. And every time I get a chance to hang out with them, I always feel so great. Like they ooze positivity and support. They are so awesome.
We do have a good gang that comes in to support, eh? We do, and we have a good time, which is really great.
And so, as you guys can see, audience, they're here under Life After Religion. So they have that channel, Life After Religion, if you want to check it out and see what that's about. Great to see you both. So, you guys, have you met this Matthew guy? He showed up like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. And he keeps showing up here And we keep doing shows together, and we're totally digging it. We need to listen to other side of the story. Yeah.
You know, my brain is so disengaged. I'm going, who is this Matthew guy you're talking about? I missed it.
It's all good. I'd probably be doing the same. Linda, who's
Like,
Linda?
what? I missed it. What is Mage Grey Wolf? No.
You know what? I found a country song called Linda James, and it's a good song. It talks about Linda James was a good damn woman. It's
Yeah,
such a
yeah,
cool
yeah.
country song. And I'm not really a country, you know. I don't usually head towards country when I start listening to music. They're all
Yeah.
Matthew.
Linda James, there was something when you were talking about Paradise Lost. Would you ever remember that if you were of a certain race, that JW believed that Paradise would cure that race?
Yes.
And
There's been stories about the black man's skin turning white.
yeah,
That's like
yeah,
under Russell's time.
yeah. But I remember it happening because when I was at the branch, we had interracial dating going on, and
Yeah.
I mean, South Africa, which has come out of apartheid, they were they were doing their nut over this. Excuse my
Okay.
French, but yeah, so they were going ballistic over this happening, and yeah, the whole and all of that stuff that was coming out from the past was being pulled up, and you're going, but hang on a second, we've left all of this stuff behind. They're going, no. There's people who still believe in that here in key areas of the branch. No, really, and this is not that long ago, eh? This
I
is
hear
not
you.
that long.
I hear
And it got to, I'll tell you who they had handle this. Anthony Morris.
Okay.
I used to sit next to Anthony Morris. I've got all sorts of stories here. I've actually got a photograph of him. I was sitting next to him at the branch. He was furious when I took the photograph, but anyway, I did
Oh
it.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, but he had to sort out the racism issue that had come up, and this was part of it. And it stemmed back to this idea that no, there would be this immaculate race in paradise. But that came
Oh
from
my God. I've never heard of this.
yeah.
Wow.
He
And I've
was
heard
sent to India because of the class system, so he had experience with it. Yeah, yeah. And I was warned. I was told, Matt, by a circuit overseer, he says, Matt, you're going to go crazy when you see this. I said, what? He says, there is a racism thing. I'm telling you right now. But you've been in all of these places in Africa, and I sussed you out long ago. He says, you're going to see it. I'm going to give you some advice. You ready? Shut the hell up.
Wow.
Yeah, he
Okay.
says, if you breathe a word of this, they are going to lock onto it, and they are going to hate your guts, and they are going to destroy you. Mark my words.
You know, I've heard a couple of stories within this last year of a biracial couple that the elders got involved with to make sure that they didn't get married because of not being the same race. Okay. And I thought to myself, oh my God, might that have had anything to do with me when I was 16 and stupid in love with my boyfriend, who is a very dark Puerto Rican? Okay. Could that have been part of it? I don't know. But I remember going to assemblies at Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles, and seeing biracial couples and knowing that paradise is going to look like this, and how we are so amazing because we're not racist and all this stuff. But when we come to find what we've come to find, it takes away the innocence of our vision of what paradise was going to be, and it's kind of mourn worthy, I think. I know it has been for me. Sometimes when I realize another new thing that I realize I've been deceived in, I let myself take a good 3 days of just being in it. Whether that means I'm gonna cry, or I'm gonna be bitching about it, or I'm going to be being very sarcastic about it, which these are all techniques that I use and characteristics and whatever. And when I give myself permission to just be in it, it really helps me to get through it. And this side of being outside of the organization is valuing what I'm experiencing, which when I was in the organization, much of that had to be shut down and just pushed down. That is what makes unhealthy things show up later in life. It'll show up through things called panic attacks. Or maybe someone's like, it's horrible. It can show up in all kinds of ways. So that's what I do, because I believe it's healthy.
This was the weird thing I couldn't work out with Anthony Morris, because when he left South Africa branch, they hated his guts. They couldn't stand him. No, really.
Okay.
I tried to meet with him a few times, and he would always say to me, "I got to rush, got to rush, got to rush." So so I was getting brushed off by him. But they hated his guts for a positive thing, and I'll tell you what the positive thing was.
Okay.
His children had interracial marriage.
His two sons?
Yeah. So
wow.
His son now, his one son is on United States or WHQ branch committee, and I don't know where the other one is, but Anthony was starting to do some sort of confessions in his talks about some of the things that you were talking about. Like we were saying, oh, the end won't, we got 10 years before the end comes, or the end's here any moment now. And he said he used to do this with his sons, and he introduced it into a talk. Because these are his sons. These are his children that have grown up that shouldn't have grown up, because we were saying, oh, you would never leave school.
That's right.
And so he wove this in and said, look, Christ forgives you. And he was rattling off like this. But I think he was getting controversial, and he was getting into hot water. And the one thing that was happening is he actually sorted out a lot of the racial rubbish. Oh, Linda James, this is what happened. This is what happened at the branch. I'm remembering now.
Okay.
I had a chap. He got me and an overseer together, and he says, guys, I've got to tell you something. This racist issue that we know exists, he says, I can't stand by it anymore. He says, I feel we are lending tacit support by not addressing this thing and having to shut up and wait upon Jehovah to sort this thing out. He says, I have guided so many young people and seen that I've had to guide them right out again. And he says, I can't handle it. I can't see it anymore. He says, I've got a young person coming in and they're affected by this thing. He says, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. He says, you're two people I trust. He says, but I think I'm going to get disfellowshipped when I handle this. He says, I'm taking this to Anthony Morris, and I'm going to let him know exactly what is happening here. And he says, I'm telling you guys this because how do I say it? It wasn't just disfellowshipping if he gets completely wiped out.
Yeah.
You get my drift. drift.
Oh my
He says, if
God,
I
yeah.
get completely, yeah, he says, if I get completely wiped out, you know what's happened. Okay.
Yeah.
And he tackled this thing, and we were like, wow, he's done it. He's done it. He's presented the case to the governing body. He's done it. And you know what Anthony Morris said? He told the people that were giving uphill, he told them, shut the hell up. He did. He said, shut up. He says, you want to take this guy out for insubordination. He's an elder. He's a spiritual warrior. Get it in your head. Yeah. And I think that's what ticked people off, because they saw that there was a positive movement towards change that they didn't want to have happen. And it overturned this idea of this immaculate race idea in paradise. And bear in mind that South Africa branch has got writing desk and research department. It's the backup branch for if United States goes down.
Yes.
I kid you not. And I'm going, okay, so these are key writers for 40 years, key contributors to writing department. And we're generating this nonsense? Wow, this is, okay, I can see why the circuit overseer warned me, shut up. I can see why. But this is what boggles my brain. Anthony Morris took that stand and was hated.
It's boggling my brain too. I'm sorry, and was hated? That's why they hated him?
Oh, they couldn't stand it.
Wow.
So it doesn't compute with me because there was this idea that he served in Pennsylvania as a circuit overseer, and I'm going, so many conflicting stories, because this is what I saw firsthand. All I can do is I can give you the story of what I saw happen.
I'll be honest with you. I'm pleasantly surprised to hear this story, because if I would have just guessed off the top of my head, I would not have seen this coming at all. I would have assumed that he had a good old boy's attitude and a very Southern, some people need to know their place kind of attitude. But what you said is the exact opposite.
Opposite, I know. And it's
exact
like
opposite.
This is why I get into trouble, because they go, who are you friends with?
Wow.
He told everybody at the branch, he says he's friends with Samuel Hurd, Sammy. Yeah. And I met with Sammy.
One that needs a nap, and he's got to rush.
Yeah. So he said, no, he's good friends with Sammy Hurd. He said that Samuel Hurd had a hell of a terrible time in the South with racism. And that's when I went to Samuel and I said, listen, I have arranged field service. I've arranged everything secure, all this kind of thing. He goes, nah, my diabetes is killing me. I can't handle all this stuff. And I had a good rapport with Samuel Hurd. Had a good rapport. And he was good pals with Anthony. And they didn't like this because, of course, Samuel Hurd is the anomaly. Some say he's the token race card on the GB.
I've said it. Yeah, he's the token black guy on the governing body.
Yeah, him and Gloria. And
Gloria, I have heard nothing but wonderful things about. That she is like God's sent wonderful woman. But
do we sound like we're promoting JW?
I think we're just talking real, you know. Like I said when I started this show about the Armageddon stuff, that's exactly what Christian nationalism teaches. And it would be easy to jump on it and say, yeah, they did this, but I know it's only a rumor right now. So does that mean I'm supporting Christian nationalism? No, you know, but you're going with your gut, you're sharing your experience. I was listening to Barack Obama Hussein speak at Jesse Jackson's funeral yesterday. You might not think he's a Muslim after you hear that one, okay? And if he is, right? And then I heard Joe Biden speak at Jesse Jackson's funeral. And he, Joe Biden was friends with other black men when he was younger because he was very much into social justice and all this stuff for equality. One of his black friends asked him to borrow his car and a gas thing, to put gas in. He's like, can't you just get gas on the way down there? He's like, you fool. He called Joe Biden an idiot. He's like, I can't stop at any gas station on the way to South Carolina to see my mother. Let me tell you something. There used to be a book for black people that showed them the okay locations where they could stop at and have something to eat or gas stations they could go to. But there was many that they could not stop at, okay? And there was towns called sundown towns where you better not be out on the street if you are a person of color after dark. You can assume to be killed, okay? So this person that wanted to borrow Joe Biden's car back in the day when he was a young adult, there was no gas station for him to stop at on the way to South Carolina to see his mother. That's why he needed the gas jug. Because when he got close to empty, he was going to have to put gas in the car himself. Jesse Jackson was a civil rights big time person that made a huge difference within the United States of America. And it was very fascinating to hear people speak of him. And I spoke with him a little bit last week, but I just thought those two stories were very fascinating. And I wanted to back up why this friend of Joe Biden had to reprimand him and go, you fool, I can't do that. But it didn't enter Joe Biden's mind. Why? That's the white privilege. That when you hear people speak of white privilege, that's what that is. It's not so much how much. I used to think it's because you're rich or something and I'm poor, so obviously it couldn't apply to me, but it does. What that means is it's about how somebody looked at Biden because he's white. He'd be able to stop at the gas station and get gas if he was on his way to South Carolina, but not his friend who is a Negro. There were all these gas stations that it was not safe for him to stop at these gas stations. But because Joe Biden hadn't lived that, he didn't know that. Because I haven't lived certain things, I don't know them. And the white privilege that I have is not because I'm got money. It's about how somebody looks at me and how they okay me because they see me as white, so I'm okay. So it's about them, how I'm viewed by fellow white folk, usually.
Sure. Linda James, can I interject just before we proceed? Have we done our disclaimer ritual?
Nope. And you can do it now if you'd like.
Okay, so how do we normally do this? We say, well, this is a community of persons that may be interested in high control situations or institutions. Not all are JW or have a JW background. We've got sometimes we get lawyers, sometimes we get psychologists and persons that are from enforcement and persons who are interested in change. So we say we appreciate that this is a healing space, though we're not practicing anything. It's just basically friends coming together and trying to reach out and trying to improve things and surpass these kind of abusive situations with a solution-oriented mind. So we say, come in with essential critical thinking. Whatever thesis is presented, we accept the antithesis for synthesis and with a healthy skepticism. And I think that's very important to do that because we don't say that we have all the answers. We're just trying to work through things and observe certain things and come together as friends. And that's what this space is, right?
Yes. I don't believe that it's, since we've left the organization, we have different roads to travel. And unless I think it's really a horrible road, I'm not going to interrupt your road, okay? Because this is what you're going to be able to, this is the freedom you have now that you are out of the organization. Okay. So I'm not here to tell you you need to take this route or you need to take that route or these are fully the answers. I'm more about this is what I've come to find. When Matthew shares, I hear it very much the same way. And I'm learning from Matthew and he's learning from me. And it's just kind of cool to run ideas off of each other, to realize the man's in South Africa, I'm here in Southern California, United States, and we know the same language. We know the same belief system because we've been part of this culture of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's something that the ordinary person in society at large cannot relate to. So when we get together with somebody else who's been involved in this culture, they get it. They get it. Whereas somebody within society at large doesn't really get it. It's hard for them to fathom some of the things that was our normal Tuesday, you know? Yeah.
Crumbs, the things we cover on this show, we've gone from pregnancy, afterbirth, nursing to conspiracy and racism and thought control and cult management, and wow. Have we missed anything in the chat?
Can you give that a good rundown? Because I like
we've got so much rich information. We've got some very important messages that are here, important, sensitive things that are being shared. I don't know where to start because it's actually very, very rich information. Purple, it's really good to have you back. And I hope it's appropriate to say we're being concerned about you as a community, but nothing heavy, all's cool. Mage Grey Wolf, has been participating. Mama Bear is in the house here.
Hi, Mama Bear.
I'm in no way nostalgic for any time in my life before my mid-40s. Mama Bear, same. Linda, me too. I was 5 when my mom stayed studying. So recalling their family here. Wild Wall says, I would like to go back to my childhood and slap myself for even thinking about getting baptized into that organization. Oh. Elaine Brain Drain, who could deny eternal life in paradise?
Right.
Yeah. What else? Mama Bear, Elaine Drain, just bear with me going through. Dallas is chirping through here. Wild Wall, imagine King David and King Solomon being resurrected and then being told they couldn't have like 500 wives and concubines anymore. Yeah. Wah, wah, wah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, racial issues. I don't know the nationality of Stephen Miller's wife. Let's see here.
Yeah.
What nationality is Stephen Miller's wife?
I don't know.
Stephen Miller's wife is an American citizen. Born in Florida, she is known as Katie Rose Waldman Miller, and she was born in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, she was worked as the press secretary to Vice President Mike Pence before marrying Miller. Okay, they might have met at the workplace because I thought she looked Hispanic, and I was just wanting to see if that was the case instead of assuming, because I think she's a pretty woman. I just thought that she might be Hispanic. I'm not sure.
I really appreciate Sheila's input very, very much. She says to you, probably, Linda, it's important to move on and focus on positivity. Our journey is not easy, but the true destination is ahead. These chats are so therapeutic. Dallas says, my mom was sucked into that cult in the 1960s during her first marriage. My dad was sucked into the cult in 1974. During his marriage, they wanted to do right in life. Yeah, that was their motive, eh? Yeah. Sheila goes on to say, we are being gaslit in all walks of life. We can't avoid it, but it's helpful to recognize the corruption. Then one can give them a type of salute. Yeah, we've got awareness, isn't it? And we can protect ourselves from getting caught up in the next scam, hopefully. Hopefully we're getting better. I think we are.
I think so too.
Dallas talks about his aunts. I've got 2 aunts, my dad's sisters, that are JWs, and I love them and would be there for them anytime I could if they needed support. Yeah, Dallas, that's the right thing, eh? You know, I think we want to do good to people. That's in our nature. And then the life after religion. You guys make a great team. Yeah, everybody in the chat, all of us together, that's right.
That is so cool to hear.
68 Eka Mouse, Claudia, good morning all from Germany. Good morning to you, Claudia. Wild War, heck, if a lion can eat straw in the paradise like a lamb, then evidently changed colors would be a piece of cake. Yeah. Well, everything was slacks and watermelon and panda bears, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Debbie Moore is in the house. Just woke up for a minute, just saying hello, sending my love, good night.
Yeah, dehydrated nurse was like, still here, gonna lay down. And Debbie's like, same thing. You know, thank you for chiming in and saying you're there. That's really cool. And I've done that too, especially on the afternoons of Saturdays. I'm laying down and listening.
Oh, here's one from Sheila again. It says, wonder what the GB thought when they were DF'd by the 3 elders. I think Hurd alluded to it when he said GB was open to correction. Yes, but did they repent during that case? And did, you know, is it an appeal case? Anyway, yeah. You see, when now the GB openly admits to doing something that we were all taught has a blood guilty connection, when they said 98% of the Bethel, including 98% of the GB, you know, that's a disassociating offense. That's what it is. And you could say, all right, well, Brother Messe or France with those 3 elders, Brother Messe was one, I had a good chat with him. Some have said that that's performative, but essentially they were using the SLF book. So it's the message, right? So if they've gone through the procedure, look, I'm not pretending that you can't debate it, because they'll say, oh, well, it's not legitimate or it's legitimate. Well, if a young girl can go to Naaman the chieftain and correct the chieftain, what does that tell you? I mean, if 98% have committed something that is a disassociation offense in the JW literature, then who does that leave? Because they can't appoint a judicial committee or an elders committee to restore them back to spiritual health according to the book of James 5. Yeah, James 5, a righteous man's supplication has much force. And they quote the prophet, or is it the prophet? Oh, my brain, sorry. But they quote the prophet there. They said, was it Ezekiel, who held back the rain and then prayed, and then the rain came down. It says a righteous man's supplication has much force. And that is the idea behind the elders committee, or what was formerly known as the judicial committee. But they can't appoint that, because that's called a conflict of interest in spiritual terms. You have to have those that have the spiritual qualifications come in to do the restoration. And if Messe and those three brothers, Frere Messe and the three brothers, are doing this performatively, it's legitimate. In spiritual terms, it's legitimate. I mean, if all of these things are spiritual, or if you want to say metaphorical even, but on a spiritual level, it's legitimate. And by the way, there are situations that sisters can perform judicial or elders committee roles. Did you know that? There have been situations of congregations where it's all made up of sisters, and the branch instructs the sisters to essentially deliver I'm going to say judicial, but elders committee judgment, and it's enforced on the basis of the direction came from the branch. So the sisters uphold it. So they get together, they put on a head covering, they do all this stuff that they're supposed to do head covering wise. But in essence, they act as a elders committee because there's no men available.
Wow. Because there's no men available. You know what?
And okay, look, I know that might be triggering. Sorry, Linda James, but I'm just telling you what sometimes happens.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I have with sisters who are of the anointed class. I don't say that they're partakers. I say that they are of the anointed class. I say to them, well, Revelation speaks of you as elders in Christ's hands. The stars in Christ's hands. I said, technically speaking, you should be sitting on the body here. Your voice absolutely counts.
Yeah. There used to be a time within religion that women played a vital role. And that has all changed.
Deborah under the palm trees, who was the commander of soldiers. Yeah.
Yep. There's this kind of thing going on in the USA, and with rumors about how, again, Christian nationalism wants women to go back to the way things used to be for them, back to when they were property, back to when they could not vote, back to when their, whole existence depended on the man that they're either under as a father or a husband. So there's that talk, and it does appear to be heading in this direction, along with, we want to make the United States a theocracy. Well, let me tell you, I've lived that theocracy life, and it's no fun. It is no fun at all to be a woman within a theocracy under these circumstances. It really, really sucks. But where I'm going with this is, actually, I lost my thoughts.
No, you got your thought. It'll come back. It's just...
It's going to come back. Basically,
we actually have been processing a lot here. Eh?
Yeah, we have. And it's all
Look,
good.
I'm going to propose this. I reckon Dallas should come with his... I think he was trained in organ music.
Mm-hmm.
We should get Pete with his music. We should get you singing, and me doing some sort of Bowie kind of avant-garde prancing around thing.
Can I sing Jeremiah was a bullfrog?
Bullfrog, yeah.
Was a good friend of mine.
Yeah. Or don't you sing some of Hicks?
Stevie Nicks. Is that?
Aren't you a Stevie Hicks fan? Or there's a bit of Stevie Hicks, yes. I heard. Yeah.
I'm a big Stevie Nicks fan.
Yeah, there we go.
I found my notes to talk a little bit about trauma. But you know what? What you're saying sounds like a really good time. I'm trying to retrieve why I brought this all up.
I was trying to reset your brain, but it's
thank you.
That's all. You'll remember.
Yes, I will. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, audience. It does happen. I am an airhead, but yeah, I think it's going to go I was going to click NY. Theocracy,
Okay, so-
women losing all their rights. It's no fun. I don't remember. Did you want to say something?
I'm going to say, let's take a breath. Dallas says, I attended the Zoom funeral for a sister that studied with my aunt. She was an awesome woman and learned so many good things about her husband. They were more liberal JWs. J Mars says, remember, give a thumbs up and like this show. And Happy Thoughts gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 thumbs ups.
That's so cool.
Oh, Happy Thoughts says, brilliant, sounds great. Wild War, the only musical instrument I could play was the radio. Well, bring it, Wild War. Happy Thoughts timeout. Not to worry, Linda. This is Diane Lowe. Not to worry, Linda. I do same all the time.
Do you?
Dallas,
Thank
Dallas,
you.
I still need practice and training in organ music. Well, Dallas, belt it out. And then Mage Grey Wolf, take a breath where, he says. Bar weep grana weep ninibon, Mage Grey Wolf. He knows what that means. Okay, I think we're up to date on the chat. Jay Mars says that he hasn't been getting all the chat. Jay Mars, there's some glitchy things we have no idea and no control over, I'm afraid. We're at the mercy of the machine. I think we're up to date there, Linda James, more or less.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can tune into the chat before I start reading. So I'm going to share a little bit about trauma.
Yes, please.
Because I think it'll be helpful. So, J. Mars, there's a way that you can set up the messages to where you'll receive only top messages or all of the messages. If you find that, you might be able to get all of the messages. Okay. Happy Thoughts is giving me all capital letters. You are an excellent host, Linda. You allow open discussion. That's so cool. I'm glad you're experiencing that. Thank you. I'm so glad. What a great compliment. I appreciate that. So I found this the other day, and it's about religious trauma and spiritual abuse may look like Christian purity culture. Christian purity culture is a set of beliefs and practices within Christianity that promote sexual chastity in a way that becomes obsessive as it pertains to moral worthiness. It can lead to guilt, shame, and negative impacts on self-worth, relationships, and understanding of consent. Here are some examples of the harm that purity culture perpetrates. It promotes a false sense of perfectionism, leading individuals to believe that they must be flawless in order to be worthy of love and acceptance. It creates a feeling of guilt and shame when individuals inadvertently fall short of these expectations. It often places much of the burden on the sexual purity of men on women. It can lead to a lack of understanding of consent and boundaries. It is also common for victims of sexual assault and rape to remain silent because of guilt and shame perpetrated by Christian purity culture. It can lead to a fear of intimacy rather than a healthy understanding of it. It can lead to lack of realistic expectations in marriage. It can lead to a lack of self-compassion and self-forgiveness. It is important for the sake of the gospel to give both others and ourselves grace in the fact that we are only human. Unhealthy accountability, the dangers of trauma bonding, religious circles. What is trauma bonding? Trauma bonding is a strong emotional attachment that develops between an abused individual and their abuser, often due to the cycle of abuse and manipulation. These abusers can be individuals or systems within a religious context that can harm members. In religious circles, oftentimes a blend of open environments, unhealthily shame over sin, a culture of public confession, and pressure for authenticity, coupled with the lack of boundaries, often contribute to unhealthy forms of accountability. Members may feel entitled to others' personal details, leading to oversharing when individuals are not ready. And not everyone has earned the right to know certain aspects of their lives. Unearthing past pain and trauma can result in the development of trauma bonding with abuse, individuals, or systems within the religious context. Here are some of the ways that trauma bonding may happen in unhealthy religious accountability groups. Over-reliance on the group validation. When members rely excessively on the group for validation and affirmation, it can foster an environment where the need for approval becomes a primary motivator, leading to a distortion of individual and Christ-centered identity. Excessive emotional dependency. In the absence of healthy boundaries, group members may develop an unhealthy emotional dependence on one another, potentially leading to an inability to function independently and make decisions autonomously. Manipulation dynamics. Unhealthy accountability groups can foster manipulative dynamics where individuals may use personal vulnerabilities shared within the group as leverage or means of control,
Yes.
further perpetrating a cycle of emotional coercion.
Yeah. As you were reading that, I was thinking of DB here in South Africa. Now, you don't often hear about it, but DB was detention barracks. So in South Africa during apartheid era or pre-1991 to 93, there was a call-up duty, which was sort of like military service here in South Africa. And of course, JWs would refuse that, or they would get into trouble, and then they would get a sentence, which was actually a criminal record. It was a criminal
record.
Stays
on their record.
Yeah. And of course, later on, that became a badge of approval in the branch. If you hadn't been to DB, you weren't approved. But if you'd been traumatized by DB, yeah, and you had some terrible, horrific story about being in detention barracks, then that gave you approval. But I think, you know, when you were reading that BITE model, and I was looking at Sheila's words there, people sometimes ask why members defend a system that hurts them, right? But the psychology is similar to Stockholm syndrome, where
Yeah.
your survival inside the system depends on identifying with the authority, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then the other thing too was a distortion on, how about our procreative power? Because there's a distortion and there's a shame there. So very often we were having to deal with persons in North Africa that have a traditional marriage, which is basically, well, you go home together with the person you love, and that's marriage.
Right.
And it's recognized in the cultures. It's recognized in the cultures. They're going, okay, well, that's it. That's what you've done. But now they come into a congregation and it's, gee, you're not approved. No, how can you do this? And they go, well, what? We're confused. What are you talking about? And they go, well, you need to go and get a marriage certificate. And we're talking about people who don't even have birth certificates. Yeah. Africa's a great equalizer, phenomenal equalizer. You've got your San culture, or yeah. So yeah, you've got, which is essentially, if you want to say, it's like your genetic master code. It's almost like that, you know, going, well, you've got to preserve these people. This is very, very important. You've got to preserve them. But you see, the reason why those are very low numbers is, how do you control people who are essentially sovereign in themselves, who are self-sufficient, and you can live off the land? But I mean, you go to somebody in that culture and tell them about marriage certificates and things like this, and go, what are you talking about? We go around basically as ourselves, hardly with any clothing, out in the sun here, barefoot on the ground, pulling roots out, and with subsistence. If there is agriculture, it's sustainable subsistence agriculture, but it's essentially foraging from the land. You know, this is how empowering is that? I think I've rattled on about this before many times, Linda James. But yeah, your bike model is coming in, and it's putting in these shaming things because it's now putting in its artificial authority control system. But I love that you've got these insular cultures that just turn that all on its head, because you're going, well, oh, is God going to destroy these people because they don't know about it? These are people that have noble qualities in them. I don't elevate it too much, because every culture's got its own problem. But
right.
I mean, wouldn't it just be great if we knew how to survive out in the wild? Yeah, absolutely. It's great.
From what I understand, they are like the beginning of all cultures. Like, they go back to like the beginning of all cultures. You know, you've heard that humans started off as Africans. They started off dark, and we've, you know, become lighter shades of brown till white. And that's
yeah, because they even say, well, where does Orientals get their genetic code from? So there's been some chat. I'm not going to make any scientific claims, but they're going to go, well, go and take a look at the Chinese. Why are the Chinese got these facial characteristics that we see in the San people? Why do we see that? And they're going, well, because the code is there, folks. You know. Anyway,
yeah.
It's
interesting.
I'm not making any claims on genetics or anything like that, but yeah, it's interesting. And
I have a few more of these.
I was
more of these to read after you finish your thought, but go ahead.
No, well, sorry, Linda James. I'm getting caught in the latency again. I beg your pardon.
No worries. Okay, escalation of groupthink and conformity. Groupthink and conformity has been used on us, by the way. Unchecked group dynamics can foster an atmosphere where individual dissent or divergent opinions are discouraged, leading to perpetuation of groupthink and a lack of critical thinking, which can be detrimental to personal autonomy and spiritual growth. After we leave the org, our personal growth, I'm now talking, is the goal for us to grow personally rather than being part of the group. Our identity being part of the group. Not that you should never be a part of a group, but that's where we would find our identity. Okay. The going off and to be able to critically think is something that is incredibly foreign to us before we choose to maybe step away from a group that we have found to be unhealthy. So that's what this was about. Inability to establish healthy boundaries without proper guidance and leadership, possibly under abusive leadership, the group may struggle to establish healthy boundaries, resulting in an environment where members feel pressured to share excessively personal details. This can lead to further emotional vulnerability and potential exploitation, sometimes by group members or religious leaders within the community. So this is number 9. This is something Jim Jones used to do. Please remind me later to go back to this. And that was it. So I'm going to go back to this. This is something Jim Jones did with People's Temple. Jim Jones and People's Temple committed suicide in 1978, which we have later found out was a suicide massacre. One of the things Jim Jones would do is he would use public shaming. And by the way, being shunned and having to sit in the back of the Kingdom Hall where nobody can speak to you is also a form of public shaming. Being announced at the platform that so-and-so is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses is also a form of public shaming. What Jim Jones would do is bring up a certain individual that might have misbehaved or didn't behave in the manner he was supposed to, bring him up on stage, and make them have to answer to him for whatever behavior they did. Now, he would then bring family members up after, so he's interrogating the one of the people of People's Temple. And they used to call Jim Jones Daddy. Okay, so that made all the members kids. So family members of the person that he brought up on stage to interrogate now have to get up there and speak to them in the same manner. He would often have the members do things like spank them with pieces of 2x4s or something. So that adds to the public humiliation as well. This was something that was done often within People's Temple. What's really gnarly about being in a cult is when you're in a cult, you have no clue you're in a cult. It's so weird. One of the coolest memes I've ever seen was one where there was this gal that went, "Are we in a cult?" You don't know if you're in a cult when you're in a cult. So she's like, "Are we in a cult?" So that's what it's like. This says, let me read this again. Inability to establish healthy boundaries. How do we talk to somebody that we've been taught is our leadership, set there by Holy Spirit, and actually set a boundary when we're not even familiar with boundaries? That's something to keep in mind. Possibly without proper guidance and leadership, possibly under abusive leadership, the group may struggle to establish healthy boundaries, resulting in an environment where members feel pressured to share excessively personal details. Now, does that sound like a judicial committee or what? Because from what I understand, elders ask whoever's there, all kinds of questions, and it's understood that they're to answer to them, even when the questions are incredibly personal.
Well,
Did you
it
wanna
goes
share something?
beyond that, Linda James. I mean, I remember going into some of the senior. Oof, it's how do you even talk about some of these things? Really, I mean, but this is what I found. I found that you had because you've got a guilt culture, right? I'm not worthy. I'm not. I'm even hearing from some of the instructors, elderly instructors. Oh man, I took a hormone tablet and I couldn't beat it down. And I'm going, I don't need to know this information. It's too much information, you know. And it's graphic and it's personal and but it's because of a guilt. It's because of a guilt. I remember even my instructor talking about corn on the cob. How do I say this? Corn photography.
Yeah.
Corn photography. Sorry if I put the hash.
Yeah. They make. There's been some corn shows out there. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So my instructor calls me now. He's how old did he get? Okay, I was traveling around with him to various places like branch dedications and things like this, right?
Yeah.
And so the one, yeah, okay. So he tells me, he says, "Oh, Matt," he says, "I was given a really embarrassing assignment by the branch committee." So I said, "Yeah, what was it?" He says, "No, I had to go and call a senior sister in, for her corn addiction." So what are you talking about? He says, "No, on the system," he says, "we tell everybody you've got the internet in the Bethel so that you can research, you can look at history, you can look at science, but it's heavily regulated by a secondary system called ResNet, ResNet, which is a monitoring internet program we have running. So it looks at what you look at on the internet and it flags certain things and it makes a report to the branch committee."
Wow.
Do you know about this? Is it the first time hearing about this?
I'm laughing as I'm learning from you right now. I'm just like, wow. Okay.
So it's a monitoring program that they had at least, I don't know, 10, 11 years ago. You had ResNet and it would monitor what you did, which is why persons would get their own independent internet at the branch to bypass the monitoring. Okay. So I know our department, for instance, said, "To hell with this." Our department was like a mini Bethel. It did its own thing. It had its own infrastructure. It had its own garage. It had its own equipment. It was like a Bethel within Bethel. And as such, we had access to all the Admin 2000 records, all the purchasing. We could see who approved purchasing, everything. Everything was open.
Wow. Hold on just a second. Okay.
Yeah. We had our own oil refining thing because the branch would reimburse you for fuel. But if you had modified a diesel engine for your vehicle, you could go to the kitchen where there is the oil that is
cooking oil.
The cooking oil that comes out of so it's the used cooking oil. You would take the used cooking oil, you would take it to our garage, our facilities, you would refine it, and you would run it through. You would run it through your diesel.
Let me say something real quick. Okay, Sheila, when I just welcome to you.
Hello, Sheila.
Welcome to the stage. I was hearing an echo, so I need you to turn off your YouTube.
So let's guide you.
Don't hear the echo.
It's really great that you're here. You've got to silence your YouTube and your sound from StreamYard comes through.
Perfect. Welcome.
Oh, we can hear you. Great. Welcome to the live stream.
Hello, everybody.
Is that
Hello.
really you, Sheila, from UK? Wow, you coming through clear.
Well, I've seen everybody else. I thought I might as well have a look at you.
Right on. Thank you.
It's very grey here. Very grey.
Is it?
Some of us were born grey, Sheila.
Yes, well.
Some of us were born grey. We came out of the womb grey. We're still a grey area. But I remember grey day syndrome in the UK when I traveled to Manchester because I was in Tunbridge Wells.
Right.
That's where I went to school. I went to school in Tunbridge Wells. And it was a typical school straight out of Pink Floyd's The Wall. We had a headmaster, Mr. Cork. He used to wear a cape. And of course, he had a cane. He was a typical headmaster, English headmaster, but it was a typical English school. It was one of those schools with the higher levels, very stereotypical. Sussex Primary School. That's where I went to school.
Right. Well, I live about 30 miles from Manchester, to the northwest of Manchester. I live in Blackburn. If that's any help. Lancashire.
The Greys have a long history there. We have a history in Scotland. We also have a history there because in my family they run the cabs. So there is a whole family there in Manchester. We're pretty hectic family, but we go way back all the way to. Oh, we go back all the way to the Grey Bar, which is how lawyers get their licensing. So the House of Grey is a key family line in the UK or in Scotland and in the UK. But yeah, we've got family that are involved in the cabs.
Right. So you're a family line of infamous people.
Yeah, we're it's not a great boast, this.
Well, I'm originally from farming stock.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I'm just very excited to have you on board here, Sheila. And thank you very, very much for all your comments and all your support. Your love and your concern and your kindness comes through, and it's healing.
Yes, it is.
Somehow I feel how people feel, and I see the pain. It's just something that this is what I was going to speak to you one time about, and I said about joining you. I feel people's presence. The other couple of weeks ago, I strongly felt your presence, Matthew. It was weird. It was like you were in the room with me. And this is the middle of the night. So it was just something I was sat here and I'm just thinking, I can feel somebody here. And I think you was writing something about Norway. And you got quite stressed about it.
Yes.
And I felt it.
I apologize if my presence leaks too intimately.
No, it was nothing like that. It was just, I don't know, I just felt you here. I just felt your presence.
Yes.
It was a good feeling. And I get the same with one or two on the chats. I get this very close perception with them. I don't know. I just don't know. But that's how I feel.
Can I validate some of that? Because I'm going to be blunt, and if I'm out of line, please feel free to just correct me. But one of the reasons why you've gotten into trouble is because you're an intuitive, Sheila. So your intuitive ability is very, very strong. Your born abilities have certainly asserted themselves very, very strongly. your presence is felt very, very wide. I mean, the fact that you're over in UK and that you are felt on the other side of the planet shows that you are functioning on a level that is supposed to happen. I did consult with Paul Smith of Stargate, and I filled him in on some of my experiences that I was having happen at the branch that I thought was part of our normal development. Of course, I got into a tremendous amount of trouble at the branch for just speaking about it. But when I got hold of Paul Smith was an instructor in Stargate. He said to me, Matt, the experiences you've happened, it couldn't have happened to a better guy. And he just he put me at ease. He put me at ease. And of course, we realized that, yes, this is our human ability. In Shona culture, you have a lot of Zimbabweans where you are, don't you, Sheila?
Yes.
You've tuned into the Zimbabwean culture. Now, in the Zimbabwean culture, I'll give you an example. There's a word called chiedza. Normally, it's translated light, but it can mean many different things depending on the presence that you feel. So in Shona culture, for instance, if you fall in love with somebody of the opposite sex, in the culture, normally they separate you. So if I've got a love interest and she's over there on the other side of the room, they keep you separated so that you flex your spiritual muscles. In other words, if you want to call it your psychic or your telepathic or your remote empathetic link, it should become stronger. And so if you serve within Shona culture, the word like chiedza, it can mean many different things when you're in the presence, because you're linked with all of these different souls, all of these different persons. And if you want to say that you're tapping into maybe a glance over here, or you're tapping into a feeling or subtle energies, I don't want to become too mystical here, because some of these things, it could be just maybe a smell or a sense, or we detect somebody's gaze. It all adds up to the language and the enrichment of if you want to say a simple language, but it isn't simplistic. It's actually more to do with tapping into the emotional side and into the depth of feeling. So much so that you can be up on a hillside over there and communicating with another person over here in Africa, and you understand each other's mentality so well, because you're in tune with that sense. Now, have I gone into something that's too mystical that loses you?
No, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like, that somebody's looking at you, even though you're not facing them. It's a real weird feeling. But where people, you've never met them before, and people.
Yeah.
Like I know you, I know Linda. There's just something that draws us somehow. As you say, it sounds a bit mystical, but it's not. It's just what it is. I don't think we know who we are.
I can give you some language so it's not so mystical, and so that it doesn't. Some of these things are quite taboo to talk about, even on the internet. And believe it or not, they get censored. Yeah, it gets censored. I'll give you a very respected laser physicist, Russell Targ, RUSSELLTARG, laser physicist. You can thank him for our laser technology, or a large contribution to laser technology. And he also instructed or trained astronauts. Like he had a relationship with von Braun and NASA. In fact, I was with Russell Targ recently, about a month ago. Yeah, about a month ago. I was with Russell Targ.
Physically, or
I must. Okay, let me clarify. I've misled unintentionally. I was with him over Zoom. Yes, I was on a Zoom call with him.
Okay.
Yes, and he was, oh, what a mind, what a mind. But he said to me, he said that von Braun was a closeted psychic. He confessed that. He says von Braun was a closet. And if you think about Edgar Mitchell, when Edgar Mitchell came back from outer space, he set up the Institute for Noetic Sciences. And the Noetic Sciences has become the California Institute for Human Science. That's on your doorstep, okay. Linda James. You have phenomenal, yes, they will do brain scans, all of this. So if you think of Monroe Institute, all of these things. So Sheila, let me give you some words. Maybe you find them useful, but I also sense that you're far, far ahead. But if you want to now remove fear factor from somebody in describing what you're talking about, you can talk about primal gaze detection. Primal gaze detection. Right. So what you were talking about, somebody may be staring you out.
Yes.
Maybe somebody's giving me the creeps. Or I can, it's not always the creeps, but you can say,
there's somebody watching.
There's somebody watching me.
Yes.
Peeping Tom or something like this. So whereas in scientism, if you went to, say, for instance, a university and you started going into this area, you might be sanctioned because certain things are off limits. You don't, because there's a religion of scientism. And they'd say, the dean's going to have words with you and you will not secure tenure. If you get your degree or you get your doctorate, you won't secure tenure. So a lot of persons kind of went underground like that. Russell Targ was at a TED Talk. Boom, he got removed off YouTube.
Right.
Wow.
Removed.
Okay.
This respected physicist, and he got removed. It came back on. They sort of loosened up the censorship. And the Stargate program, which had Paul Smith, who I spoke to about Bethel and what happened in Bethel, and he just eased my mind on a lot of the trauma that I was carrying.
Good.
And what I should have had the answers 26 years ago. He just corrected it then and there. Russell Targ, who else? Paul Smith was an instructor. There's a whole lot. Pat Price was involved. But I didn't get to meet him. I got to meet Russell. I got to meet Paul Smith. So they will put things into terms that are acceptable within our present society. So Russell will say we live in an 8th dimensional reality,
yes,
which now matches our mathematical frameworks in an acceptable way that if it's under peer review, they can't refute it. If you talk about primal gaze detection, they can't refute it because these are things that are established within those circles. So you just kind of have to know what the dictionary is for acceptable speak. So that, yeah.
You have to cover it up like weeds in the orchard.
I've been talking too much, Sheila.
Have you?
Yeah.
I always find it very interesting listening to both of you. I like Linda's soft, gentle way of saying things.
Thank you. That is my attempt. That is my attempt.
But
I'm really happy to be with you, Sheila.
And you too. And everybody else that's on the chat.
So were you once a Jehovah's Witness or once involved with the organization? Yeah. How did that come about? I was 9
years old when my mother started studying. My brother was 7. So we've been associated with them a long, long time. And lockdown helped me a lot because we did over Zoom, we prepared for the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was studying quite deep into the Watchtower and the midweek meetings. And I'm thinking, that scripture's being misapplied. But I'd already started to think about things beforehand. And it's very difficult to talk to anybody because who do you speak to that won't go running to the elders?
Exactly.
I'm rather outspoken. So on the Zoom meetings for the ministry, for the ministry group meetings, I started to ask questions. Well, that didn't go down well at all. So then I got the elders' visits, and till one of the bullying ones came, and that was it. And then I started to look into the child abuse, the Australian Royal Commission, and I looked at all that. And then I found, I don't know why I did this, but I went onto the John Smith Foundation Trust, and lo and behold, you can pick up JW's videos through a link from that, and it takes you to the JW site. And I mentioned this to an elder, and he said, well, that's not breaking copyright laws. And I just thought, what's that got to do with copyright? Why is one religion promoting the theories of another religion? It doesn't make any sense. So that didn't go down well either.
Wow.
I'm going to excuse myself and I'm going to bring a document, if I may.
Okey-dokey.
Okay.
Sure. So you're asking these people, why would JW.org be promoted by what you were looking into?
Yeah.
And then they said it wasn't a copyright issue.
Yeah.
And to Mormons as well. Okay.
Well, that's what the John Smith Foundation is, the Mormons.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So
John
I just
Smith.
the elder, are we associated with the Mormons? And I explain why. They've made it more difficult to actually do that now, but I have done it. I have found out to do it again, because it takes you to the John W. Smith Foundation takes you to a link. You press that link and it takes you to the Watchtower, jw.org website.
Wow.
It was the same with the sale of the apartments, Buttermere and Ellswater apartments. And it said it was the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, the W, that one.
Yes.
They've taken those off now, because I was putting it out how you could find it. And of course, everything goes off because they're watching what's going on with the channels.
Wow. Okay.
So I found an awful lot out, a tremendous amount.
One of the very first videos I ever made was because of a previous Mormon, and she talked about the techniques and tactics that Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses use.
Yeah.
And so one of the very first videos I made showed these characters and techniques, and there is some kind of similarities. Their Jesus and the Jesus of the Watchtower. Their Jesus is the spirit brother of Lucifer. The Watchtower's Jesus is Michael the Archangel. So they're kind of brothers, okay?
Yeah.
Both created beings, and they're not the deity of deities, that kind of thing. And eventually they'll have their own planets and be the deity of that. I watched this gal on a channel called Life Take Two. And she's a previous Mormon, and I have a good time listening to her talk about back in the days when she grew up as a Mormon. It's just so similar.
Yes.
Very similar. Yeah.
So, Sheila, what your elders should have done, if they were prepared to tell the truth and level with you. I mean, you're familiar with this book, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I've even got the name of who this belongs to. So look, it's a key figure. Anyway, so it's a Watchtower book. So anyway, we know this one, yeah, and there's different versions of it. There's the black one and there's the blue one. And it's,
Can you say the name of it? The name of that book?
The Divine Plan of the Ages. So
Okay.
inside I think you even have the
Pull out.
there we go.
That pull out. It is so cool.
I've got to be careful. It's very fragile. But anyway, yeah, let me be very
has
careful.
all that. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I can feel it's. I've got to just be very careful. Anyway, Sheila, if they were prepared to level with you, this comes from a key research department and printery in the organization. Right?
Yeah.
Who is it made for?
So it says the divine plan of ages, right? So it's the divine plan of ages. This is the modern one. This is the modern one. And when we open it up, what do we see? We see not Watchtower, but it says, can you read that? Are you able to see that, or shall I read it out?
Just read it out, would you please? But it's a bit blurred.
I'm just holding it up, and maybe somebody can pause it and whatever. But anyway, I've shown the audience. It says Fort Worth Bible Students, P.O. Box 4085, Fort Worth, Texas.
Wow.
So tell me, what is South Africa branch doing with this? Is it Jehovah's Witnesses? Are we Bible students? Who are we? Well, we know that in the UK that the International Bible Students Association is a key controller organization where yes, you know how it works. So the information has to be approved there. And I think you can also see the properties, who owned it. Very interesting to trace who owned what there and how that works, and connections with York Wright in Scotland, and so that whole thing. But I thought that you might find that interesting, because this came from research department in JW.
Right.
That's how I got it.
Can you Google it, that? Can you get it online?
Yeah, I think you can, because it says there it's the most comprehensive Bible study available, and there's a whole advert there. There's a whole advertisement.
Right.
There's a whole advertisement. So but what I thought you, or the way I would trying to validate you, and maybe I'm a bit complex in the way I'm trying to do that, isn't it interesting that now you've got this other printery here that's right in the heart of the system?
Yes.
What's that all about? Because this is not Jehovah's Witnesses. This is not Jehovah's Witnesses. But it is. It isn't. But so it doesn't tell you that it's Jehovah's Witnesses.
No,
it tells you that it's these
hidden. What you call hidden.
The thing is if you ever talk to anybody from the Bible students, the original Bible students, they let us know that we, JWs, are the apostates. Okay? We branched off from them.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay?
So now how did I get this? I'll give you the story, because it's all in writing. Okay, so Linda James, this is why they don't enjoy me, because I've got every email. I've got
this is why they don't enjoy me. I friggin' love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
they got all excited. They gave me a code number, and I was to be a consultant for writing department and research, right? So I will talk about Franz Schradel, who is the overseer for the department. So anybody can check that. They go, how the hell do you know this, Matt? I know this because that was the work I was doing. And I got this because they got all excited. They were going, oh, you're going to be on the governing body, Matt. We can see you doing this. And this wasn't a pipe dream. This isn't just something just to say on the internet to go, wow, Matt, is that true? Isn't this wonderful? No, they were getting all excited. They were getting all excited about this, and they were trying to train me on writing desk. So I was getting things like a Watchtower article that would come through, and I would go through it and say, no, that's a problem, that's a problem, that's a problem, and I would put that through. But to give you an insight, the consultation, they said to me, you have to be recorded. So if I gave my antithesis, the thesis, antithesis for synthesis came from them, by the way.
Yeah.
You know our disclaimer? That's a JW disclaimer. And they only teach you this when you're inside there and they feel that you're trustworthy, or they're testing you out to see how trustworthy you are. I guess I failed everything, because they say to you, do you consent to be recorded? And I say, yes, I consent to be recorded. And then I give the consultation. And then they always do mind audits. So you have to, so say, for instance, they might come up with, oh, but 607 is a problem, isn't it? What's your antithesis on 607? And I go, okay, this is to see whether I'm loyal to the system or not.
Right.
Because they've presented all the information. It's exposed that it's one of our professors who we disfellowshipped later on
right.
because he had a court. Right. Yeah, but I've got it all in writing. I've got the whole story. It's all in the emails. And then when that whole issue with the child problem here, when that came up, I went to the governing body family. I said, how do we deal with this? They said, no, you have to correct your local body of elders. But I got it all in writing, because I said, I'm not taking action until I know that this is endorsed by the branch. I need to know that I have not acted on my own, and that this is direction from service desk and from, I went further. I involved the governing body family, because I went, if this comes back and they've got deniability, I'm bringing in the names of branch committee, I'm bringing in the names of governing body family, and now this is you have to sort all of this out, because all of these names are involved. So I got them to commit beforehand. I said, how do you deal with this situation? You commit in writing. And so now I've got all of that. And then I included witnesses. I said, right, you guys have to see that this has come through these channels. So they got all excited, because they're going, Matt, this is breaking a lot of the impasse situation that's happening in the branch. We're caught by our own legalistic system, which is creating these problems. This all starts coming out. And so I started getting crates of all of these old books, which is it's not just from Uncle Joe down the road. This is the working material to produce the watchtowers. It's got the stamps in from Watchtower. It's not any, and it's got the notes of the coordinators. It's got the coordinators' notes inside. So when that happened, they were still communicating with me. I received a message. This is why I get into trouble. And they say, oh, Matt, you're still part of JW. No, it's their system hasn't fully ejected me. In some ways, they've announced, oh, Matt, you removed. But because they got all excited and were going, oh, you've got potential to be on the governing body with our new boys, they lock me into certain systems. So whenever they update their passwords, it links me into that, because I'm one of their, what they consider legitimate anointed. So it keeps giving me the updated passwords, and I keep having to go to the police and saying, they've updated the system again, and it's almost like an entrapment situation. I just have to report what's happening. So over here, they're in deniability. You've cut off this congregation from the sense that, oh, if there's a liability, that congregation has acted on its own. If they removed you, it was their doing. You're still our Watchtower representative. Oh no, but hang on, we've given you this information. It's a deadlock. It's an impasse situation that they have created.
Yeah.
I have not created. I did my job to the best I could, and I only acted when they gave me information. They can't say to me I acted independently. I acted according to their direction. So if they now go, there's a legal case, then I just go, well, you guys all supplied me with all of this information. I can show you all the emails. If you want to talk about Epstein, this is JW email. I can show you the whole network of what's happened. And I can show you the receipts of when you created books to me from the branch, from the printery, from your research department. This is a Bethel phone. This comes from Bethel.
Does any of this have to do with Epstein, or are you just figuratively speaking?
No, I'm creating a parallel. Sorry,
Okay,
I don't mean to be sensational. I'm
That's
just
cool.
saying,
I can
if
understand
ever
parallel. That's
they
cool.
got hold of my email,
Yes.
people could read it and go, and let's search through this, and we can connect governing body, families, research department, this person to this person, this coordinator to. There's so much information there. That's why my mind gets blocked, because the cognitive load, there's just too much there. I can't actually process all of these things. I can only talk about it spontaneously when someone like Sheila comes on and triggers a brain cell. And and I go, Sheila, you're not crazy. You were right.
Yes.
You were 100% correct. That's all. I've taken a long way to tell you you're right.
Yeah, but you've given us a lot of information, which I appreciate. I appreciate everything that goes on this chat. There's something about this chat that's different than the others. And as
That's
I
for sure. Thank you.
as I said, that you allow people to speak properly, Linda. You are a very good host.
Thank
You don't
for
talk
that.
people down. You don't talk people down, and you don't belittle anybody. Or most, don't get me wrong, the others don't do, but you do it in a certain way. And I find this particular chat very educational.
That's so awesome to hear. Just from us having conversation, Matt.
Yeah.
We're educational.
You know, Claudia says, Matthew, it sounds like you are a spy. I'll tell you what happened to me. I got. If I mentioned intelligence agencies, Linda James, would you get strikes or anything like that?
I don't know.
So I'm going to try and be a little bit cryptic. Okay, but
that's a good idea.
In Britain, who does James Bond work for? MI?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then in Israel, what's the equivalent? So you can think of Rolling Stones gather no moss.
Yep.
Ad. Okay. And so those are the equivalents. So first of all, I was rejected by Bethel when I was 18. I was very, very sick and I had sickness, and I was rejected. But I went into computer industry and I got involved in the banking systems, infrastructure, telecommunications, networks, microwave links, satellite, radio, LoRa, wide radio networks, all of that stuff. Your internet pipeline through Africa going through to your sea, all of that, right? I had to take an oath of secrecy, or they tell me if you're involved in Post and Telecommunications Act, you have to take an oath of secrecy and you have to work with our intelligence office.
Yeah.
And you have a separate office in your establishment, and it's a closed room. You don't interfere with it. But it put me in touch with Queen of England. It put me in touch with your banks, BlackRock, the whole lot, Barclays, Stanbic, all of that. Because for one set of computers to talk to another, you have to have your coding communications for your transactions, and it all becomes completely apparent how the business works. It's so obvious. You're going, well, there's all of these people studying economics. All the information, you can see it. That's why you take an oath of secrecy, because if you reveal that information, essentially your economy collapses, because it's a revealing of sensitive information. So you have to, in order to remain functional and to put together these security systems and communications between computers, that's the only way that you can operate. And of course, if you leak that information, it destabilizes your economy. I might have had something to do with just by accident some of the economic breakdown in Zimbabwe, for instance.
Right.
But it was completely accidental, and it's a very complex thing. But that happened because there was information leakage, much like the film Sneakers, where it now got leaked out on a golf course that your banks were collapsing, and then when that happened, you had your economic failure that was a domino effect from there. So I had all of that information, and as soon as that's there, you are immediately profiled. And when the branch sent me to a political area called Control, which by the way has something to do with the United States, I'm going to tell you, it has something to do with Scientology. It's connected to Congress. I mean, I'm in an area here where there's the American embassy, and there's stealth technology on the ocean here, and I have Prince William on my doorstep playing rugby with the locals. I kid you not, and Bill Gates walking around. And I said to Linda James, I said, "Oh, by the way, he's got an establishment just a couple of blocks away." Do you know what's happened, Linda James? I went back to it. I cannot find it.
Oh my God.
It's gone.
Oh my goodness.
So how this has happened, I don't know how it's happened. But I'm even looking at the satellite imagery, and I'm going, what the hell's happened to this thing? And persons up in North Africa who were here when working with me, I said to them, "Tell me, am I losing my mind here? Have I imagined this thing?" He said, "No, Matt, no. We all saw it. We all saw it." They said, "Did you know that Obama was there too?"
My goodness.
I said, "What, Obama?" I said, yeah. He was visiting the school here. Right next to it, and I have a photograph of this. Is a box where you put your unwanted baby.
Okay. Is it a drop-off box? A drop-off box so that nobody gets in trouble, but then it's put in a safe place? Because here in America, we can do that at a fire department, some hospitals. If we have a baby, we don't.
So there's the drop-off box. Okay. There's Bill Gates's facility. There's Desmond Tutu's AIDS, TB, and free clinic. Boom, 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 boom. There's the rugby pitch where Prince William rocks up. So you've got this whole thing, and I'm because I've done my work as a JW so much, I know where all the expensive cars are arriving out in squalor, and I'm going, the only way that happens is if there's money coming in. What is supporting this thing? And then the way I got tied up was they were locating all of our Shona, all of our Chichewa persons for inoculations prior to 2019. Yeah, this was going on. And the congregation in the high density area, which speaks Xhosa and Zulu, were saying, "Oh yeah, our Shona guys are there," and they were giving information of how to locate all of these people. And then I came in, informed the branch. I said, "This is what's happening," and I think I was a real problem because we stopped it. I said, "You cannot release information about people of a private nature of how to locate them if it's going to be connected to medical. How do you know there isn't some kind of medical testing that's going on? How do you know?" And that's when we had all of our Congolese arrive on the beach here, homeless, and United Nations. Oh, we've had everything happen here. This is a microcosm of society here. I'm telling you, United Nations, all the Congolese that got ejected because of the war that's going on in Northern Africa because of the mining and the lithium, which is going towards your Tesla systems and your cell phones and all of this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. They all rock up on the doorstep, and the branch says, "Just get these guys on a bus. We're getting them out of here. This is what you have to do. Just get them on a bus, get them out of here." We didn't
Wow.
allow that to happen. We integrated them into the society. Each person had a job. Each person had an accommodation. And I believe they're now in New York.
Wow.
Sorry to flood. Sheila, I don't know when to stop. Sometimes when you just pull a little bit, it starts unraveling, and I just flood with all of this stuff.
You've got to let it out sometime.
This is why my brain is like it is. And this
you've
week,
a lot in there, Matthew. You've a lot in there.
this week I jammed up. I totally jammed up. I was in real trouble this week. So please forgive me, everybody. And if you've hung on, thank you.
Is the chat finding it very interesting?
Okay.
What did you say?
Is the chat finding it interesting?
Is the chat getting interesting?
Are they coming up with interesting comments?
Let's see here.
Sheila, I get the impression that you're not lost on this conversation.
No, I'm not lost at all.
Yeah.
It's the channels that I watch. It's they're not all Jehovah's Witness channels. There's a lot of things I've learned, a tremendous amount, and also what's going on behind the scenes and everything. There's a very interesting one I listen to. She's called Lauren the Listener. Now she's bringing an awful lot out.
Laura who?
Lauren the Listener. She's in this country.
Okay.
Sean Atwood. He was very good interviewing David Icke the other day. That was a live chat. It was an old one, and it was before the Queen died. But what he was saying is so relevant to today.
Yes. I
So
was with the Queen.
everything's coming out.
I was with the Queen in Zimbabwe because she would come in and they would make a rondavel for her. They would make one for Philip and they would make one for her. They didn't sleep together. They slept in different huts.
Yes.
Yeah, out in the bush. Out in. Yeah, and they would drop by parachute a Discovery. Do you know what a Discovery is? Land Rover Discovery.
Yes.
So they would parachute this thing in, and it would be
That's
their
how they
own.
showed up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they would parachute this
Wow.
in, and then she would arrive, and then you've got all the rules: don't touch her, don't talk to her, blah 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 blah. And people would just disobey all the rules, and she would scream, "I've been touched!" You know, yeah. So yeah, but I mean, you have all of these things, and it all gets pieced together. And yeah, Ike, what he's talking about, it's geez. But it's, how do you talk about it in an open forum? Some of these things you can't talk about. But you've got very vulnerable people here in Africa. Very, very vulnerable people. People who don't have birth certificates, people you can't trace. They go missing. So I'm going to say to you, the way your conspiracy mind goes, where you've been told it's a load of rubbish, guess what? Guess what? It ain't. It ain't rubbish.
No, it isn't. It's a conspiracy theory, so they're right. And it's the other ones that hide things.
Yeah. So we've traced it to Baal worship or Moloch worship.
Yeah. Yes.
Really?
So
Okay.
I think that's the safe way to put it in an open forum like this. We have traced it, and that entity is real. It's as real as the.
Have you watched Mikey's last video?
Mike.
Kim and Mikey.
No.
That's interesting.
Okay. I'll thank you.
Mikey's last video? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, he's talking about the Bible. Anyway, I'll not say anything. It's very interesting what he's saying. Very interesting.
Okay.
Well, I think I'm going to go now and let you. I don't know what time you're going to finish, but thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us.
I got you talking more, Sheila, and I'm filled with instant regret.
Why?
because I yap too much.
But you're teaching. You are a teacher.
As are
Yes,
you,
he is.
Sheila. You've got so much there, and if I can give you the feeling, I should imagine that there are so many in the chat who want to hear from you, because you're very, very supportive, you're very loving, you're very kind in the way that you're moving around in the various circles of persons who've survived or emerged as JW or ex-JW, however you want to phrase it. Really, the amount of good that you're doing, it really is phenomenal. So thank you very, very much. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful even for your kindness now, where I actually feel embarrassed.
Well, don't be embarrassed.
Because you talk too much? Is this why you're embarrassed? You
And
rattled
I
on?
know I'm
When
aware
something
that I'm.
comes to mind that you just, to me, you were just being normal. Oh, you remembered something, so you talked
But that's
about it.
JW
That's
way
what
of
we do.
it. They don't need to feel embarrassed.
I don't. I didn't get
What you
embarrassed by anything you
They're
said. So
embarrassed. Mm.
thank you for joining us,
Yeah,
Sheila.
thank you for-
And if you ever want to, like,
Hang
do
out.
like we can do an interview. If you want to share that, you don't have to. Just kind of bringing it up. If you ever want to do that, that's something that we can set up.
An interview. What the heck?
You'd be amazed. An interview like of your time in the organization, and
All right.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So that people will understand that journey that you've been on and where you have found yourself now, and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Because it's very encouraging for someone who might be still in the organization and being apprehensive to leave, because where else can you go, right? So there's possibilities is what that gives. So
Yeah.
that could be. And if that's something if that's a place you don't care to go, that's fine with me too. But I just thought I'd throw that out there. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you for joining us.
And I'll say good night. Well, good morning to you.
Okay. Good morning.
Have a very good morning, Sheila, and look forward to many more, please.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
Sheila.
So we're going on almost the
Well,
3 hour
we've hit
point.
our 3
Our timing is really good tonight, and it just happened.
Yeah, we want to welcome everybody to the channel. We're about to start. Hang on.
Where did the time go? Yep.
There's so many questions I want to ask Sheila. I want to ask her about the tomorrow people. There's all sorts of things I want to ask her. Yeah. You've been interested in these things for a long time. And from what I can see, Sheila, it's true. And it's more than true. And we are only scratching the surface. And there are people who are light years ahead, absolutely light years ahead. And it's coming out, and they found ways for it to come out. And yeah, it's the stuff of our imaginations. It's the stuff of our dreams. And it's incredible. It really is incredible. Our potential, amazing. And eternity is a very long time. Very long time. And in eternity, anything can happen. Okay. Linda James, that's it.
Okay.
Can you ground us with a song?
Yeah. You're on this for the song. I love it. Oh my goodness. So we're gonna round up and say goodnight. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity. Sheila, if you want to stick around, you can say a few words to say goodnight, and then I'm gonna go with Matthew. If he has a few words he wants to say before he says goodnight, and then I will, and then we'll be ending the show. Did you want to share anything with us, Sheila, or share anything with the audience before we exit the building? Okay. So, Matthew, is there anything
Yes.
you'd like to say? Cool.
Linda James, I want to say deep gratitude to you, Linda James, as Sheila well put. You are a gracious host, but also to everyone who shared tonight. We had some really great things in the comments. And so spaces like this, they help us to turn isolation into understanding and into grounding. So we say, I wish everyone gentleness and rest after such meaningful conversations. You are the reason we are here. So we're very grateful for the honesty and the compassion in this space tonight. And so thank you, Linda James, for facilitating this. And thank you again to everybody who has shared.
Thank you for showing up again, Matthew. Did you want to share anything, Sheila? Okay, I think she left the building. All righty. So I'm wanting to say goodnight to you all. It's always enjoyable to see the chat, to see you guys talking amongst one another. And I just want to thank you for being here. And those that have joined us tonight, I wanted to thank you as well. I also want to thank those that will be listening to this later. I appreciate you being here as well. This week, I hope you do something that is edifying to yourself, something that helps you refuel. Things that are going on, outside in society at large, can get kind of heavy, and it can drain us and wear us down. So if we don't replenish, it's going to keep us worn out. So self-maintenance is a good thing to do. And if you can just do it when you think of it, or literally you can schedule it on your schedule because you are that important. So I wanted to say good night and thank you for being here. This is truly the highlight of my week. I appreciate you all. And with that, I'm going to say I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
I never met